I would very warmly like to invite our esteemed doctors who've joined us. Dr. Arup Haldar, who is the consultant pulmonologist with the Woodlands Multi-Speciality Hospitals. Sir, you've been fighting this and been talking about air pollution for a very long time. What I would like to hear especially is draw the parallel between COVID and air pollution. And while one is getting noticed and recognized, air pollution is still not recognized. So, sir, if you could kindly throw some light on this, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vinay, for your kind introduction. And it's my honor to be present in the platform for fight against air pollution. And I've been long associated with you, research and foundations, and Bengal Clean Air Network. And this is on an auspicious day. This is the Doctor's Day program. And we have lost life of, I think I'm audible.
Yes, sir. You're audible, sir.
I'm audible. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have lost 1,500 doctors in fight against COVID. Not only that, we have lost life of at least 40 lakhs of people died actually from January to this month. This is the beginning of July. More than 40 lakhs. This is the official figure actually, but it is actually more than 40 lakhs patients died of COVID pandemic. But we know that in 2019 alone, 66 lakhs people died from an unnoticed epidemic. And this epidemic is called the epidemic of air pollution. And nearly 12% of the global deaths are due to air pollution. So COVID is noticeable because it's everywhere in the media, in the newspaper, everywhere. But this unnoticed epidemic of air pollution is killing more people actually than what COVID is doing at present. And this number is going to increase in near future. So we have a data which is called a global burden of disease data. This is published every year, and it depicts the burden of air pollution and human health every year across the world. And it says that now 1 in every 6 diseases are respiratory diseases, and 1 in every 2 deaths are now due to respiratory causes. And in our country, in India, we have the highest number of COPD patients. COPD means chronic obstructive pulmonary disease patients, or which is colloquially known as chronic bronchitis. We have the highest number of COPD patients across the world, and we have the second highest number of asthma patients across the world. And in terms of deaths, India ranked first globally related to the asthma deaths and second related to the COPD deaths. So you can assume what is the burden of disease. And what is more important is that though in the Western countries, COPD is a disease of the smoker, but in our country, we see more of the non-smoking COPD. And here the major risk factors for COPD are ambient air pollution, household air pollution, and occupational air pollution. So this rise of this ambient air pollution actually gives rise to acute lung attacks. You have heard about the heart attacks. And this is the acute lung attacks. And following an acute exacerbation of COPD, 1-year mortality reaches almost around 50%. A New York-based study has shown that if the PM 2.5 count rises by 7 micrograms, the chance of viral pneumonia rises 1 to 3%. And in COVID situation, I've seen if there is 1 microgram rise of PM 2.5 concentration, there is chance of 15% increase in the mortality in COVID patient. 15%, mind it, it's a huge number actually. So air pollution not only affects the lung, it can affect virtually any organ of the body. And the PM 2.5 is a fine, ultra fine particulate matter. It directly traverses the blood vessels and go everywhere in the body. It can cause various diseases apart from the respiratory disease. It can cause diabetes, dementia, and it also hampers the neurological development in children. And it can cause a preterm birth and low birth weight babies. In children, what happens to lung function growth? The lung growth is hampered due to exposure to ambient air pollution, and they can develop premature chronic obstructive pulmonary disease in their adult life. And in 2019, air pollution moved from the pressure, tobacco use, and dietary risk. We have more than 70,000 odd scientific papers linking to air pollution and adverse health outcomes, but still still it is mostly confined to intellectual lectures, and most people, as shown in the study, those who are affected, they are not aware of this problem. So awareness is a key issue in raising the bar against air pollution. So air pollution should be controlled always at the source, because this is the benefits of clean air always outweigh the cost of cleaning it. And there should be a year-long propaganda, awareness program, and planning to control it. There should be short-term, medium-term, and long-term program. So to conclude, so though Indians often boast of our immunity, but nobody of us actually has an immunity to PM 2.5. And we suffer 3 deaths every minute contributed by air pollution. So when you're planning a recovery of our economy after COVID pandemic, it should be a green recovery. It's sustainable development. Breathing should not be injurious to health in future. So this is all I have to say, and I will be very happy to answer if my little friends have any question to me.
Thanks. Thank you so much, sir. And I think the way you've been able to explain in very simple terms the urgency of air pollution, especially when COVID is very well understood, but air pollution is a larger problem that we don't understand, and it's something to be very concerned about for the future. Thank you so much for that. I would like to now call upon Dr. Chandrakant, who's the consultant medical oncology from Narayana Super Specialty Hospitals. Sir, thank you so much for joining, and we would love to hear from you, especially in terms of the urgency and the problem has been talked about. What can we do in our daily lives to protect ourselves? So, Dr. Chandrakant, if you could kindly throw some light on that, please.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for having me here. And I will spend just a couple of minutes because I am just in the middle of my consultation. So I am very happy with the initiative taken by the Calcutta Clean Air, focusing on this issue, which is not actually faced in majority of platforms. We are all, as far as cancer is concerned, the main focus for cancer treatment has been on the treatment of cancer. So we all know that cancer can be cured, and only when we can pick it up early. So early diagnosis is the key for cancer. So we have to do a screening. Only then we can reduce mortality. So we have been allocating so much of funds, so much of resources in treating cancer. The later the stage of cancer we detect, it is difficult to treat. So we cannot treat a terminal cancer. So very important what we call as prevention. And there are multiple levels of prevention. Like we have secondary prevention where, and then we have primary prevention where we promptly diagnose and treat. And we have what is called as primordial prevention. That is preventing the risk factors. So primordial prevention plays a big role in reducing the incidence of cancer, and maintaining clean air is a part of primordial prevention for cancer. If you look into the modifiable risk factor, clean air is an important part of modifiable risk factor. So we must take all the efforts to reduce the risk factor of cancer, that is the modifiable risk factor. It reduces cancer for at least 25 types of different types of cancers. Incidence can be reduced if you can have this primordial prevention. So whatever effort we are putting, the oncological treatment is an expensive affair because the new drugs that are coming up, especially the immunotherapy and the target therapy drugs, are extremely expensive. And instead of allocating the system for this treatment, we also must allocate for primordial prevention, and clean air and water become of prime importance. So I would urge all the staff and all of us to maintain the clean air, and we should give as much importance for this primordial prevention as much as for treatment of cancer. So treating cancer is a late intervention. So we must try and have an intervention in the early part of disease. So I am very happy, and I would recommend primordial prevention as an important step in reducing the incidence of cancer, rather than in intervening in the later parts at the part of treatment or in the terminal stage of disease. It is very important to have this primordial prevention, and having a clean air having greater impact on population. So if I can improve the hospital facilities, the blood test facilities, the investigations, screening, I can only benefit a subgroup of population. Whereas if I have a primordial prevention like a clean air, especially, I will benefit the whole population. So with a less amount of investment, a less amount of efforts, I will be able to benefit a larger number of population, reducing the incidence of cancer. So I would thank everyone again for having me, and I would get back to you once I am done. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. We look forward to have you back later when there'll be question answer sessions. But the way you were able to explain the importance of allocating money and resources, not just for finding drugs or finding therapies, but also especially, and which is more important, is what I understood from you, is how can we look at primordial prevention? So these, and how something like that, or how something like ensuring clean air can impact a very large set of population, whereas some of the interventions on curing cancer will only impact so few. And sadly, most of our efforts is just going to one part. So thank you so much for this very important point. There are, Dr. Kaustav is here. Dr. Kaustav is a pediatric consultant with the Apollo Gleneagles Hospital. Dr. Kaustav, thank you so much for joining us. We have a lot of children in this group today, and many of them are they're ranging from various classes. Some are also, of course, we have college students, and even so we'd love to hear from you, sir, is what impact does air pollution have on children? We've directly from you, and also what are steps that potentially these children can take to prevent themselves?
Yeah, I think, thank you for a kind introduction. I'm audible, I think.
Yes, sir, you're audible. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So what is my opinion at this moment is that this COVID has taught us a clear-cut lesson as well. Because with COVID, what happened is that we have to get into that fact of wearing mask, and then something like you have to go for lockdown, you have to isolate yourself, and there's this movement of car and air pollution has drastically come down, and that is quite visible I think quite visible, as in distant vision it is not blurry anymore, it's quite clear. Long distance areas like anything like Howrah Bridge or something from distance also. But the impact what we got during this COVID period with lockdown and with all this dust particles comes down quite drastically. What we found is that the disease in children are coming down quite drastically, particularly the respiratory illnesses, and as well as other illnesses like GI disorders also. That is mostly because of what should I say? Even we got little cases of asthma, little cases of respiratory tract infection, and tuberculosis, or sick. But what we found over time is that once the lockdown is just removed and people are again moving around and there's cars are in the road, and obviously the industries are opened up. So there is again those blurry, and the air pollution index is also going up. And along with that, we are getting again lots of cases of respiratory tract illness, particularly in children, and few cases of asthma also. And so definitely this period, COVID period, this last 2 years, clearly gives us an idea. So if you are taking it in a proper way and air pollution is coming down, if we wear this mask, actually that helps in our long-term respiratory tract illnesses as well as asthma. Having said that, this is quite important that this impact should keeps on going. So post-COVID, when everything is lifted up, so during that time also, it is quite important that we should have some measures to reduce to that air pollution level to that COVID era, and that impact on the I think population, like children's population, is quite great. It is not only the acute conditions like asthma exacerbation or respiratory tract illness or say GI illness or sleep disorders. Apart from that, it's a long term that you can contribute as your agent, as well as your long-term development. And long-term development, I mean to say their academic goals and academic achievement as countrymen, as Indians, we may be proud of. This air pollution not only does its bad effect on the living population, like who are going around, but it is also has an impact on that pregnant ladies for carrying a fetus. So possibly this drastic reduction of air pollution.
Right, so thank you so much, sir. And I think this is something we're all very concerned about, is the impact air pollution can have on children. We were just discussing earlier in the presentation of them having to grow up with compromised lungs. So I mean, more than for any other reason, we have to make sure that we are able to take care of air pollution, especially to protect children growing up and the youth and the children growing up. Thank you so much for this. I'd like to now invite Dr. Sanjukta Datta, who's consultant and head of emergency medicine department, Fortis Hospital, Kolkata. Dr. Datta, you've been a big advocate of the need for air pollution, and you've seen cases that are potentially very difficult cases that are potentially because of air pollution. We'd love to hear from you on especially what is it that we can do, what are institutions that can do, what are people that can do to protect themselves, and also more importantly, make sure that we can solve this problem.
Yeah, first of all, thanks to all the organizers who is organizing this session to increase the awareness about the air pollution, because this is something we really don't know of. The way it is killing our people, we really are unaware. We know COVID is bad, we know dengue is bad because we can see them killing directly. But air pollution, we see them. We see the victims of air pollution regularly. Do you know that the maximum number of asthma and COPD patients are in India in this whole world? Also, the death due to asthma COPD is highest in our country. Again, if you go to the Western state, they would say that COPD is a disease of smokers. India is a country where disease is very common among non-smokers. So that means what? Even if I am not smoking, I am inhaling this air and it is doing the same what smoking does to a heart and does to the body. And one more very important thing, I was asked in many forums, there is no immunity to air pollution. Someone asked me, the kids in the villages, they are not so protected. then they are not actually getting this much of air pollution effects. Basically, probably they are in the place with comparatively better, in comparatively better areas. So they are not exposed to that much air pollution, but there is no immunity to air pollution. If you are exposed to air pollution, for sure you are going to get some form of damage. And when we talk about the air pollution levels, we know that the WHO guidelines is less than 40, somewhere less than 50. That is the guidelines that air quality index should be. And when you see the standards made by the world, the WHO, all the international forums, they talk of a level from 0 to 500 because they cannot think of too high air pollution levels. They tell that 300 to 500 level is hazardous and the people should avoid outdoor activities. But here in India, sometimes we see that the air pollution level is beyond 500. So we can imagine how much harm it is going to do if I am going out in a AQI of 600, where all over the world they are saying if it is more than 300, please don't go out, avoid outdoor activities. But we are going in the air which is more than 500 AQI points. Now, the problem is we forget. Every winter we remember it. When we see the smog, it is the smog around, we remember it. There are patients who are coming with cough, cold, continuous eye irritation, shortness of breath. Kids are having nebulizers. They are having, the lung patients are having oxygen at home. But then when the winter season is gone, we forget about this. But pollution goes off. Not really. We create the same amount of pollutants. In winter, what happens? As it is cold, the air we are producing, the bad air, the dirty air, that actually stays with us. We are among the, inside that smog. During the summertime, due to the heat, the earth is hot, so that air goes up. So we inhale less amount of pollutant. During the rainy season, because of the rain, it comes down to the all the particulate matters. Most of them comes down to the earth. So the air is comparatively clean. But if we look at the sky, as Dr. Kosa was saying, if we look at the surroundings, we can see what the difference air pollution and a clear air can make. I used to wonder when you click a picture in a Western country and you click a picture here, why our picture is sometimes so timid, so hazy. It doesn't look so great. Our skies are not so blue. But is it true? You fly from the aeroplane, you take a picture, it is really blue. The sky is same everywhere. It is just the pollutants around us. It is like smog, like fumes, it is all around. And it is really alarming. We are breathing poisonous air. It is way above what is we call a safe level for the normal human body. And usually in the winter seasons, the emergencies are flooded with patients who are having problems which is related to pollution. It could be lung problems, it could be stroke, it could be cardiac issues, it could be a premature birth of a baby, it could be reduced stamina, shortness of breath, chronic allergies, so anything and everything. Basically, this is a killer which is killing us slowly. That's why probably we are overlooking it. But if we talk about these symptoms, probably some of us or somebody around us definitely feel it. They feel the irritation of the eyes during the winter time, irritation of nose and throat, coughing, chest tightness, shortness of breath. Then the lung ailments, those people who are already having it, they have aggravated symptoms, wheezing, chest pain, dry throat, headache, nausea. Also, it reduces our resistance to infections. we have got increased fatigue, weakness, weakened athletic performance, lung damage. Even the baby, the unborn baby is not out of danger. Now, during COVID, we are seeing so many COVID patients, those people who are some coming with shortness of breath, some are just having some mild symptoms at home and they are not requiring any medical treatment. Probably they are thinking that they are absolutely fine, but I have done many CT scans for post-COVID patients for some other ailments, and we have seen that there are permanent damages in most of their lungs. The lungs, the part of the lungs are fibrosed. There are enough healthy lung tissue. That's why the saturation is showing as normal. But there are areas which are already fibrosed, already scarred. And I really do not know what is going to happen to these people when the winter comes, when the pollution level goes up, and they are exposed to these pollutants every year. If you have had COVID, you have not checked your city, I can tell you there is a high chance that there is some amount of damaged lung there. Above that, if we take pollutants every year, so it could be really deadly. It could be really seriously a comorbid condition where we will be unable to breathe properly, unable to run properly. So we need to secure our own health, the health of our own kids and future. So for that, I believe everybody should be into it, should feel it from their heart and do something. Whatever you can. I mean, stopping using a plastic at your own household to stopping others. Somebody is burning garbage outside, stopping that, stopping a vehicle who is exiting a black fume. I mean, whatever way possible, if every one of us try to do something to make it better, I think that would be the best thing to do. Of course, there should be involvement from the government. There should be rules and regulations, because here people know that they do not, I mean, the smoking is bad, still people smoke. But then there are people who knows this is bad and they stop it. So definitely the rules and regulations are required, but that will, I think, also will come when we will be more aware, we will ask for it. Government will also move when we will move. At least we will try, we will complain. As I can see the school students or the college students are there. If as a school, as a college, if we can go and talk to our local authority that this is how our students are suffering, this is how every year our kids are having nebulizations. When I was a kid, I don't remember any of my classmates having shortness of breath or had to go to the doctor's office to get the nebulizer or oxygen in my childhood. So if from everywhere the voice is raised and we can talk to the local authorities, try to do something about it, and of course we change ourselves, our own way of practice, our carrying plastic, burning it. If we can stop this, try to do something, I think definitely we can make some difference. Of course, planting trees, that is another way. And of course, whoever is here, if they can go and tell another 10 people the same thing, they can increase the awareness. Definitely together, I believe we can make some difference. So all the best. Thank you so much.
Dr. Sanjukta Dutta, thank you so much. The way you were able to very simply break that down, what we can do in our day-to-day lives, what even children can do in their day-to-day lives, and the importance of doing it. Thank you so much for putting it out there. Now I would like to invite Dr. Suman Malik, who's the Clinical Director, Chief of Radiation Oncology, NH Narayana Super Specialty Hospital. So you've been an inspiration for this movement. And you've seen the impacts of air pollution very closely in your position. We'd love to hear from you to talk us through what you've seen and what your message and what do you think needs to be done?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Vinay. Thank you all for giving me this opportunity to discuss and share our experience, especially in COVID situation, especially with air pollution. And as being an oncologist, actually we are seeing every day that a lot of people are suffering from lung cancer who have no previous history of smoking or any kind of tobacco abuse. So it's a very deadly, and whenever you will see this kind of higher number of cancer patients, higher number of COVID deaths, higher number of COVID related respiratory symptoms, you will see that those are mostly in urban population. The major reason behind it, one of the thing is air pollution. And we always talk about the COVID related deaths. We always keep counting the numbers, how many patients are dying of COVID every day. But we don't track the number of how many patients dying of air pollution, and that is manifold higher than the COVID death. Even whenever we talk about tobacco related death or death due to other poisons, those are much more higher than the COVID. Like in tuberculosis related death even is more higher than COVID. So even now, though the COVID is primary focus for us because it has become a headache for everyone. It's a major public health related issue. But truly speaking, there are something which we don't identify in our day-to-day life. That one of the important aspect is air pollution. And as I discussed with Gargi and express my, because I don't want to give you a lecture today, I want to make it more interactive. So if you have any query from us, from any medical related query or any air pollution related query, you can ask me questions directly, or you can text over here in the chat box, so I can discuss each and every issues. So is there any question from anyone there?
Sure, sir. Absolutely. I mean, we would love to hear from the children. If there's any questions, we'd love to hear from you. What your thoughts are. I know there was a message from Driya Ghosh and Drik Ghosh that they have asthma and they cough and have a hard time every night, which is very sad to hear. My heart goes out to this issue. But anyone with any questions, any thoughts, if you can please come up with that. While we are coming up with, well, the children, I hope, come up with some questions about this. There are also some teachers, I believe, who are here. If any teacher has any comment or a question for our doctors, we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to just unmute yourself and ask the question or put it in the chat box. But sir, I have one question that I would like to ask on behalf of all the children or all the youth who are part of this session. And I'd like to go and ask all our doctors who are part of this session. But I'd like to start with you, Suman sir. So what is that one message you would leave with children? Because it can sound very gloomy, the world we live in with COVID, and then there's air pollution and the problems air pollution can have. There's climate change in the background. What is the one message that you would like to give to the children in such a situation? But before that, Chandrani Ghosh Adhikari has said, sir, every night I used to cough and have problem in sleeping. What does this signify? Chandrani, do you want to unmute yourself and ask this question, or you already asked this here? So the question is...
Yes, sir.
Yes, please, Chandrani.
Yes, sir. Sir, I want to ask my doctor that every night while sleeping, I used to cough and certain problem I feel in my throat also. So what does this signify actually?
So this is since how long you are having this kind of problem?
6 months.
6 months.
Nearly 6 months.
Okay, fine. So the thing is, many of us actually going through the same kind of problem, because uh, dry cough at night time, respiratory distress, cough, sneezing. These are the conditions or upper respiratory tract infection or inflammation. And there are several factors which may actually aggravate this kind of situation. And one of the factor is air pollution. And it is important how you are leading your life every day. So whether you are going through a polluted place every day, or whether you stay in a polluted place, or whether there is
Sir, I
yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, sir. I stay in Haldia. Haldia, it is a industrial belt, and
Yes.
I used to come out from my house, because from my house only I used to do online class for my school. But then also, why am I having this problem?
Yeah, definitely. So there are some people who are more prone to this kind of symptoms. Those who have asthma from childhood, they are more prone to get this kind of symptom before. And those who are smoker, those who have other lung ailment. So you have to evaluate yourself to a doctor, that whether you are having any kind of this kind of problem, whether you have. And sometimes if a patient of COVID infection, they may have this kind of problem in future for few months, because COVID related pneumonia and fibrosis. So these are important. And definitely if you are staying in a industrial belt, definitely there is an impact of air pollution in your lung. So that is important, because air pollution actually does not restrict itself in a geographic border. So whenever there is air pollution, it's spread across the surrounding area. So that's why it is more important for air pollution to work together as a team rather than individually, because individually we cannot restrain air pollution. Yes, it will start from our home. Definitely, we should start uh, from our own practice, but definitely it should be a collective move from. So that's why it is important to understand about AQI of your location. If AQI is very high, then you definitely contact your local administrator and find out the solution. How could you actually reduce this kind of air pollution at your environment? And yes, definitely, this is not a one-day solution. So you have to do it collectively for a pretty long time to reduce significant amount of air pollution, and make it sure that the situation should not worsen in future. That is more important.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Any other doctor who would like to take Chandrani ji's question? There are many other questions also coming in, so I would also like to sort of take these questions around the table with other doctors. And I can go in the reverse order in which the doctors spoke. So Tiana Thakur from BHSM, which I believe is Birla High School, you can confirm, has written that I'm not sure whether it is because of the rain that is happening. It's a follow-up to Shadi. So there was a comment rather from. So should we sleep with AC on is the question, is I believe.
Basically, actually, in the mornings, I have nose blockage for about an hour, just in the mornings, never in the nights, and just for 1 hour. So I'm not sure if it's because of the rain that is happening, or should I sleep without the AC. But even if I do switch on the AC, it's usually at 27 or 28, which is not a very high level. So what should I do?
Dr. Sanjukta Datta, would you like to take this question maybe, perhaps? Sanjukta ma'am, if you could hear this, otherwise I could perhaps go to Dr. Kaustav. Dr. Kaustav, if you can hear me, please. Or I'm happy to open this up to any of the doctors who may want to take this question.
I'm Dr. Haldar.
Dr. Haldar, yes, please.
So what she's telling, she is suffering from allergic rhinitis probably. So it's an inflammation of the nose, which is happening in the morning hours. In the morning hours, she is having it. It may be due to some indoor air pollution. It may be related to AC or may not be. Okay, so how you can judge it may be related to AC or not? So if you sleep without AC, if you are having this problem, then it is not related to AC. Or maybe your room may be having so much of indoor air pollution because it is not airy, or there may be many reasons for that. Or you may have a pet in your house, or you may be allergic to something like cotton or pillows or anything it may be, or dust even. So don't be afraid about it.
But I did have a dust allergy when I was small, when I was a kid. It did go away for some time, so I'm not sure if it has come back again.
So this is a simple allergy case, and whether you should use AC or not, that you can, if you just turn off AC and you sleep one day, you can judge. If you're not having this problem, then just switch off the AC and sleep with your windows of nature. And you can, with an ENT, simple nasal drop will cure this condition. And try to avoid house dust and try to make your room more airy if possible, not possible always. And sometimes if the problems are extreme, we also advise them to use air purifier, but this is not for every patient. This is for extreme cases which are not being controlled with nasal drops or medications. Okay.
Thank you, sir. I will definitely test out the with AC or without AC theory and try to avoid the contact of dust.
Thanks so much, Diana. I hope you get well soon and your health is well. There's a interesting question coming from Malika Panda. If you're a teacher, then Malika ma'am. If you're a student, then Malika. How do I prevent pollution from factories, because nature is really polluted? So it's not a medical question, but it's an interesting one. I mean, what can children and students do about this issue, because they're seeing these chimneys or these vehicles just take out smoke right in their face? What could perhaps be done? If any of the doctors want to take this. Dr. Haldar, would you like to continue, or Dr. Suman?
So we cannot, for ambient air pollution, we need a policy. Okay? So from individual level, we cannot do much. But there is another pollution which is called indoor air pollution. This is also very common in our country, and most of the burn is taken by the children and the elderly, because who stays in the home, or the mother. So we can do something about it. Okay, so we can prevent, or we can just avoid this indoor air pollution by not burning unnecessary agarbatti, or just avoiding the dust, keeping our room clean and airy, planting some or putting some plant in our indoors. So a lot of things we can do. We can do about the plastic pollution. We can avoid using plastics. We can properly reuse our garbage, or properly dispose our garbage. We have lot of things to do. So we should do our own part. So that we can do. Every one of us are capable of doing that. And rest of the thing, we need larger solution. We need a movement for which these seminars and awareness programs, which are all needed. This is a big issue, but let us start from our own part. Let us contribute something to the society by curbing this indoor air pollution at our home by whatever means we can.
Thank you, Dr. Halda. Thank you so much, Dr. Costa sir. So again, what is a message that you would like to leave with the kids, with the children who've joined this seminar? From your side, please.
I think they are quite intelligent, and they are already, I think, the nice part is that the way she puts her question, I'm really get amused. And the good thing is that she's already aware of her problem, and she's also aware of the problem that what air pollution can do to her. So that's the awareness we want, that the kid also should know. And then when they grow, they actually are the one of the pillars for this awareness program, and actually good things can be done by them. Actually, this allergic rhinitis is coming from the genetic portion also, which can getting aggravated by any air pollution. So if she is having this problem in the morning, she can take something like some amount of cetirizine will work for 2 to 3 days. That will work, as well as she can, and if it is for less than 1 hour, and then something like she is all right, she can just hopefully take some nasal drop kind of thing. So nasal drop can clear her nasal path as well. So that's why the sneezing will come down. Regarding Dreek, who is unfortunately having asthma problem, and he has put some question. I think, can you read the question for me?
Yes, sir. This question from Arko?
Dreek Ghosh.
Just a minute, sir. I'll just get to that question. So this question is on their air condition. A lot of people, sir, have wanted to know they suffer from clogged nose.
Yes.
What could be the cause, and what can they do about it?
Okay, usually in the air condition, when you use it, if it is drier, then only it can lead to something like that. So we want something like humidified air. So what I can suggest them that they can use some amount of steam inhalation. That way, that is actually moisten their nasal mucosa. But otherwise, if they are keeping a constant temperature, probably that is much more helpful for respiratory system also. Rather, it is the variation of temperature that is once they're in the hot air or sometimes in the cold air. So this variation will cause much more damage. So I will always suggest that maintain a uniform temperature, whether it's 26 or 28 doesn't matter, but that should be uniform. That should not be there is a huge variation of temperature between two areas, and they should not go around like that. So they should maintain a uniform temperature, and that is why these children, when they go into something like even in cold areas, like say like in outside, I think in the hilly areas, they don't do bad. They actually do well even the temperature is low, but their air pollution is also low. So uniform temperature should be maintained.
Even people without sleeping in air conditions, sir, a lot of people are saying they have blocked nose. Why does this happen? What can they do? Even people who are not sleeping in air condition, what could be the reason, sir?
Okay, so it can be multifactorial. So you cannot say on the only one basis that AC is always the risk factors, but it is all what Dr. Arup Halder has already stated, that even they can have something, they are using the pillow which got some dust, and that can give rise to every morning. That's the problem. So if they are cleaning it properly, if they clean the carpet, if they clean the curtains, which is almost long term held in their home, so those should be clean. So cleaning is the key of the success in these conditions. And second, they can use something like nasal drop. Nasal drop means normal saline drop, or which usually earlier days they do that nasal, I think just nasal dosing with water or something. So that way it will clean the airway as well as it humidifies the airway, and that way you can prevent such nasal blockage as well. So if there is nasal blockage after that, you can put some nasal drop into nose and just clear that.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. I'd like to maybe go back to Suman, sir. I don't know. I'm not sure if Dr. Sanjukta Datta is
Yeah, I'm sorry. I actually got busy with something.
Sure, of course, not a problem. So the next question would be to Suman sir and Dr. Sanjukta Datta. People are concerned that they live in cities where they're living between industries. So there's one question, I don't know the name, it says Redmi 2, but If you can hear me, you can ask your question yourself, or I'm happy to ask this question. On behalf of many people, a lot of people are concerned that they live in cities with a lot of industries, a lot of vehicular pollution. What are the precautionary measures they need to take?
Yes, sir. I am Polomi, sir.
Yes, follow me, please, if you want to ask your question.
Yes, sir. I have a question that many people work in industrial units, sir. So they are the most prone to diseases caused due to air pollution. So what precautionary measures should they take?
Yeah, Polomi,
See.
due to COVID pandemic, one thing that we have already practiced, that using of mask. If there is a lot of pollution there, if a person working in a industrial belt, if it is recommended, then he can use this N95 mask while going for a walk and during work. That will not only save him from COVID, but also from this kind of dreadful air pollution. So usage of mask is one factor immediately that you can actually use to reduce the air pollution related health hazard. And the other thing is definitely that what we were discussing, that how we can reduce that air pollution, that all the dignitaries have already mentioned about that. Right. And Dr. Sanjukta, if anything to add from your side.
It's okay. You are absolutely right. We need to continue with our mask, even if it is COVID or no COVID, because that is the immediate solution. But at the same time, it cannot be, a good life with a mask. So what we can do for pollution, we need to think of it when the electric vehicles come. We need to move from our diesel or petrol vehicles to the electronic vehicles. If we see a polluting vehicle, maybe it is not really very easy for an individual to do it, but if we can do something as a group, say for example, a factory which is emitting unrefined fumes to the air, if you can go to the authority as a team, or so that they are bound to treat those fumes, and then only they can actually send it, throw it in the air. For the vehicles also, it is the same. All the vehicles should have a pollution certificate, but that is not being done nicely. Probably they are not measuring the particulate matters. So these are the things we can think of as a group, going to some authority and talking about it. If we can, bring some sort of rules, regulations, and check, even if there is someone if we can talk to, that this way you cannot do this. If somebody is burning some garbage in front of you, if you can go and talk to them in your own locality, at least everybody has got their own locality, and I think in every locality, few people, if they are sensitized and they go and speak, they try to change things, because air pollution is such a poison. It is not killing the people who are talking about it, or the people who are poor, or the people who are living in huts. This is such a pollution which is killing everybody silently. So I think if we can make people aware and let people know that what harm they are doing to themselves, their kids, near and dear ones, I think some changes some changes we can bring.
I have a question on that.
And and another thing is the air purifier that definitely works if you are inside a closed room. I have checked some of our patients who are actually benefited by using air purifier at home, but then it is very difficult to continue it for the whole day, or keeping yourself confined in a room. But the immediate solutions are only these two: using a purifier or a mask.
Excuse me, doctors. Yes, I have a question on that.
Please carry on, Dishaji.
Sir, how effective are masks really to combat air pollution? As they said, that's a possible
absolutely.
solution.
They're absolutely good. When we talk about N95, that means it stops 95% of the pollutants. When you talk about N99, that is 99%. They are really good. But then, yes, it is not really very comfortable if you are doing high velocity exercises, very fast runs. So sometimes that could be suffocating. There could be a chance of getting too much of carbon dioxide if you are doing very heavy exercises or fast running for long. So that should not be done with the N95 mask. But other than that, it is absolutely fine and definitely it is protective.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
and with more use of mask, we also come to know, like you said, that health problems related to increased use of masks. So it
Not,
also like it
not
actually
really, not
impacts
really.
us. Too.
Not really. I would know. I would differ in this because I don't see our people around to do heavy exercises or that marathon kind of runs. I don't see them. Our people are usually lazy, most of them, so they just walk and they just do some mild exercises. So a mask is absolutely fine. But yes, you need to keep the mask clean. So that is a thing. Other than that, there is not of many mask-related diseases or something.
Yeah, thank you, doctor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Um,
I think benefit of mask is outweigh reduces the risk of air pollution and I think those viral infections as well as bacterial infections in a drastic way. And what we found in the COVID situation, actually those infections and the allergy and asthma, everything comes down drastically. We have almost reduced number of patients on respiratory illnesses. So
Absolutely.
there is a good effect of mask. And if you read about mask and history as well, so countries which are using this mask for a long time before even the COVID, particularly Japan, who is having highest population who are elderly, they are doing quite well with mask and they make it mandatory. Particularly in India, there is no rule actually, but in particular some countries there is mandatory that if someone is suffering from upper respiratory illness or something like throat infection, they usually wear masks just not to put those infection to others, and that way they actually prevent the infection. And that's the best way I think in COVID situation actually help us to learn, and children are also learn that in a good way. I think that's the way forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Because in emergency also we are seeing the same as Dr. Rakosa was saying. It's absolutely true that we are not even seeing the patients who we see normally. So other sorts of infections, respiratory infections, even GI infections, probably COVID has, I was telling a few days back to someone that, I mean, COVID has at least taught us how to be maintain sanitization, how to maintain good health. People are not having much outside food. People are keeping their hands clean. People are wearing masks. So the GI infections, the even hepatitis, all the diarrhea, dysenteries, pneumonia, influenza, everything is down. And even probably, I mean, this is not really related, but probably because of sanitizing the all other things everywhere, the outside the home, people are sanitizing like maniacs. Probably that is not helping COVID. But I think the dengue is also less. Probably the mosquitoes are less because of all this sanitization effect. So that is really doing good thing for us.
Sure, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Would another doctor want to respond to that, or there are a couple of more questions? I'll quickly move to that. So there's one hand that is raised from Tiana Thakur, and along with Tiana, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question if you've raised your hand for a question.
Both my parents had vaccines, and I noticed that after that they were often sick for a few days. Why is that?
Okay, along with that question, thanks for that question, Tiana. I'll also like to bring a question from Chandrima Goswami. Chandrima writes that is staying indoor a safer move when the AQI is high, even if you're staying in the heart of the city? So if I'm staying right in the heart of the city and the AQI is high, is staying indoors a good option? So maybe Dr. Chandrakant, if you can hear me and you want to take these two questions.
I think Tiana's question I can answer first.
Sure. Please go ahead.
Tiana, thank you for your question. I think you also have vaccination, right? In childhood, you are taking lots of vaccine, right?
Yes, sir. I have lots of.
And after taking vaccine, I think you are also having some problem, like sometimes having fever, sometimes having some wound, this muscle pain, sometimes having pain all over body, something like that. Do you have that anytime?
Usually, I don't really have that much.
Okay, so usually, so similar thing can happen with vaccination of your parents as well. So they can have some amount of fever, some amount of, I think, your body aches, some amount of muscle pain kind of thing, but usually those are completely reversible, and usually those are only for a transient moments. So they're all well. Don't think these side effects are bad. They are actually not bad, and they usually do well after a transient period of say 2 to 5 days, and then subsequently they're all well. So don't think about those side effects of the vaccines, because vaccines are actually good for your health, your parents' health as well.
Thank you so much for that important answer, sir. Dr. Chandrakant, would you like to take the other question, whether staying indoor?
Yeah. So I totally agree with Dr. Kaustav. To get fever post-vaccination is a good sign. That means you have developed immunity and you're guaranteed with good antibodies. So it's a good sign to get fever and you should be happy about it. So regarding the second question, can you just repeat what is that she was saying?
So Chandrama Goswami has written, is if the air quality is bad and you're living in the heart of the city, does it still make sense to stay indoors, and how does that help?
So to stay in the heart of the city is a problem. There are so many advantages of accessibility to multiple facilities. So with that, you have to bear the brunt of these air problem because of pollution. So staying indoors or outdoor doesn't matter, because you're going to breathe the same air whether you stay inside or outside. So the only way to handle ourselves in a city like Delhi and Calcutta, where so much pollution is there, at a personal level, is a mask if I go out, or an air purifier, as Dr. Sanjukta was very clearly saying. These are the two immediate things that we can actually have. So other smaller things what we can have, or we have some indoor plants which are known to, they add some beauty, they add some peace. At the same time, probably, we don't have a study, they also cause some purification of air. So because you have oxygen synthesized in the plant, probably that also adds to it. So very importantly, yes, it's very important to realize that if I'm in the heart of the city, I'm in the heart of pollution. So that's a disadvantage of being in the heart of the city. So if I'm going out and if I'm concerned, mask is the way to go. And if I'm inside, then the way to go is to use an air purifier. And proper ventilation of rooms is also important on these situations. And all these children, they are hardworking, they study. So to maintain a proper concentration, a proper attention span, we have a whole night of sleep. In the morning, I get up and I still feel sleepy. So all these happen when the quality of air is bad, and when the ventilation is poor, when the oxygen content of air is bad. So it's very important to have some indoor plants. Try to increase the plantations. It saves both rivers and also it saves air. So we are starting to occupy all the places where plants used to live. So where we are sitting and talking today were the places where the plants used to live. So we have deforestation and building forests made of cement and concrete. So all these have resulted in air pollution. So these small measures of having some small plants in home, I think, would be another solution for staying in the heart of the city. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. There's a very interesting question that's coming from Sneha Chatterjee. Sneha, if you want to ask that question, feel free to unmute yourself and ask that question. But she says, does pollution, say any kind of pollution, affect our biological clock and metabolism rate? Wow. I would probably take a couple of minutes to just get my head around the question, but of course we have doctors like yourself to answer this. Suman sir, or if you wanna take that question, or Arup sir, does any kind of pollution affect our biological clock and metabolism rate?
I will take the question. So definitely our biological clock is affected by pollution, mainly the sound pollution and the light pollution. So apart from ambient air pollution, which are talking about, there are other kinds of pollution. So those who are living in the city, that sound pollution, those who are living just beside the road, sound pollution is really a minuscule. And apart from the sound pollution, light pollution. So what happens? We have a biological rhythm inside our body. This is called circadian rhythm. During night, we feel asleep, and in the morning, we wake up. So this is particularly maintained by a clock inside our brain. And if you have too much of light, as we get in the city, this biological clock is often delayed. Even your blue lights from your mobile phone, your laptop can all affect your biological clock. So this is also a kind of pollution we are having. Definitely. And regarding the basal metabolism rate, if you are awake too much, your metabolism rate is going to be very high. So you have going to have a very high BMR rate. So definitely these two are related, and this is a fantastic question. You can do research when you grow up. Definitely do research on it. It's a very good question we have thought about.
Yes, I have such plans. I really want to research on this.
All the best to you, Sneha. It's very, very nice to see young minds thinking on these lines. There's another very interesting question along those same lines. If I could ask Suman sir to talk about, does air pollution affect the fetus?
Yes, definitely. So fetus is connected with the mother. So same circulation is going on going to the fetus. So in air pollution, yes, we have seen that there is retardation of growth and development of fetus. Definitely there is a problem for fetal developmental. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Yes, sir.
Okay. So yes, it's related to fetus as well.
May I answer?
Actually, the thing
Yeah,
is, when we
Dr. Kaustav can.
Yeah. So if you are really going through evidence-based, what we have to understand is that if a mother is taking oxygen and if it is going to the fetus through umbilical cord, it is the same air is going to the fetus, right? So if you are taking polluted air, obviously air pollutants will go to fetus. And the effect on air pollutants on this fetus is something like prematurity. There is a more chances of IUGR, intrauterine growth restriction. And obviously all this leads to long-term comorbidities in these children. So you have to be very careful while this air pollution is actually having really bad effects on the fetus.
Great, thank you so much. Sanjukta ma'am, would you like to respond? And also just the final.
What I was telling is, when we talk about pollution by particulate matters, we are more worried about the particulate matters which are less than 10 micron. Now, the more it is, the smaller is the particle, it is more harmful. So the particulate matters which are less than 1 micron size, they are notorious because when we breathe in, it doesn't really just go to the lung. It can actually cross the barrier and reach the blood. So 0.1 micron particulate matters or less than that can actually travel through the circulation, go to the fetus, and then what our other doctors were telling, it can definitely cause growth retardation, premature birth, even birth defects, even death of the fetus. So that's bad it could be. And even when these kids are born, they could have low resistance to infection. They could be easily infected from other problems. So that's how it is important, and our pregnant patients should be worried about their kids, and everybody should look up for this air pollution correction, taking some measures. So that's what I expect everybody to come forward and do something about it.
So Drigosh, I think they're brother sisters. They have their hands up. They've been asking a couple of questions. Why don't you just unmute yourself and ask your question, please?
Ma'am, our question was, are inhalers more effective than medicines? Because they're really from, and our parents give it to us more often than they give it the medicine.
I hope the question was audible. I'll sort of again bring it up. Are inhalers more effective than medicines because their parents give the inhalers more than medicines? Arup sir, Sanjukta ma'am.
Yes. So definitely, you're Dria. Dria, what do you do if you have some cut in the skin? What do you do? Do you apply some ointment in that? You do that, huh?
I think
you
I saw
apply some ointment.
Yeah.
And if you have some eye problem, what you do? You put some drops. So these are the problem in the lung. So we have to take the medicine directly into the lung. That's why inhaler are always more effective than medicine. So it acts directly into the lung. It acts very fast, and it is more effective than the medicine with lesser side effects. Okay. And what was another question? Is there any other question?
No, so I think.
Yeah,
I think.
Another question.
Yeah, go ahead, Dria.
Yes, sir. Why do some people have side effects from the vaccines while others are fine? Because sometimes I had, but my brother did not.
It depends on the individual constitution of the body. Each and every body has a different biological mechanism. Okay, so body reacts differently to different medicines for different people. So some reactions may be there for some people, which is not present in other people. So it is a common phenomenon.
Tiana, it is like a 5 fingers in your hand. All are not the same. Similarly, your brother and you, if you take your height, take your weight, it is not the same. So your height or your weight is not equal to your brother. So obviously the effect and side effects will be differ for your brother as well as you. So it is okay to have fever if your brother is having and you don't have. Don't worry about that thing. Those are mild, and it can differ. So it is not equal for both.
Thank you so much.
I wanted to say my name was Ria and not Tiana.
No problem. All right. So we're almost at the end of this event. I'd like everyone to switch on your your camera so we can take a group photo, virtual group photos.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, please. If that can be a short question, please. Yes.
So actually, I suffered from COVID in the month of April. After that, sometimes I suffer from shortness of breath. Is it due to the COVID which I have suffered in the month of April? Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Dr. Chandrakant, would you like to take this, or maybe?
So when did she suffer? In February?
In April, sir.
In April you suffered, and now you are having breathlessness.
In these months, sometimes I have suffered from shortness of breath.
Okay, how severe was your COVID infection? You had cough, breathlessness at those times? You got a CT
no,
test,
sir. I felt yes. I did not get any smell and sometimes no taste, but I coughed. I think not much, but a bit of it, and I did not have breathlessness at that time.
I think if you are speaking this long sentence, you are very healthy. Don't worry. You are able to frame a sentence. You are able to speak a sentence without taking a breath. So don't worry. Live your life. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Stop worrying things which are not there.
Sir,
I think you can take help of Dr. Arup Haldar because he is a pulmonologist, and possibly this is not just to ignore. It can be because of post-COVID period. It is a possibility that you can have some lung changes. So just take a good pulmonologist like Dr. Arup Haldar's help. So he might help you in a long way.
Thank you, sir.
I don't think we will have time for more questions. We are already at 5:30. I know a lot of questions are there. I would encourage all of you to put your questions in the chat box. We'll try to get back to you. We'll get back to our kind doctors and we'll come back to you. But before that, I'd just like everyone to switch on their cameras. We'll take a group photo. And also just one very quick line from all the doctors, a final message from all the doctors. I'd like to go around and take a final point from all the doctors for our children and youth, some teachers who are present in this group today. Dr. Suman, would you like to start? Just a very short thought or comment.
Yeah, so children, we were the future for our country. So stay healthy and teach everyone how to become healthy, and please lead a healthy lifestyle for better future.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Sanjukta Dutta.
Yeah, actually, I want you people to remember that we were using masks for so long. We could able to live our life with small joys with our near one and dear ones. We could be happy just by seeing us alive, healthy, and our near and dear ones happy and alive. So for that, whatever we need to do, I think we should continue doing that. And of course, for this air pollution, we should increase the awareness because this is a silent killer and we all should fight it. The way we were talking about fighting COVID, everybody should talk about fighting air pollution in the same way.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Dr. Kaustubh Chaudhary. Dr. Kaustubh Chaudhary, you're on mute. If you can hear me, please. Any final comment? I'll come back to you later, sir. And Dr. Chandrakant.
Okay. I feel amazed to see Thea, Drake, Iana, all are having so enthusiasm about this air pollution problem, and they're already up in thinking. And I feel that everyone should be feeling in the same line. They should be aware of this problem and the solutions for it, and they should create awareness for that. With all, I just say, hope to stay well. All of you stay healthy and take your measures until this is over. So be there and be good all the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Chandrakant.
Well, it's a wonderful meet. The types of questions children have put up, or these are the questions which we talk in conferences and big meetings. So whether I get fever, whether I get reaction, what to do. So these are very sophisticated questions, which are quality questions. So to look into the type of questions, we're really happy, and we can see the future of our country in your hands. And very importantly, you are all the guys who are going to be there in the planet longer than all of us. So if you want your future to be fine, healthy, it's very good to create awareness in children, and a very good motive from the Calcutta Clean Air part. So I would urge all of you, how I have to have a clean food, clean water. Equally important is to breathe a clean air. And it is very important to have these sort of meetings and remind everybody, take at least one take-home message from today for everybody is what I can do for a clean air. Use less plastic, try for an electric vehicle, or at least switch off the bulb when I'm not using. So these small things at least we must inculcate in our life, so that these small drops will finally give an ocean of fruitfulness. So thanks everyone for attending, and thanks for having me here.
Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Arul Paldar. Finally, Dr.
It's a wonderful session. So some brainstorming questions were there, and my little friends, you are better. You have a better knowledge than our adults about this air pollution. So we better teach our adults about this air pollution. And before we should always put pressure on the government for some policies. But before doing that, we should also do our part also. That means the indoor air pollution, which is also a menace to us, that should be curbed with our all endeavor. So that's all I want to tell. You are the future policymakers. Just be sensitive on this issue in the near future when you will be in top positions and will make the policies for our country.
Thank you so much, all the doctors. Thank you so much. It was so great to have you. Just finally, everyone, if once again can smile, switch on their cameras and smile into the cameras, we'll have a nice group photograph. all the children are looking so beautiful. Thank you so much for all of you for joining, and all our doctors with all their masks and all of the service that you provided. Thank you so much. I think we've already got the photograph. We have a few people waving. That's great. Thank you so much. It was lovely to have all of you. Look forward to work together and solve this problem. And thank you once again to doctors for everything that you do, and for all the inspiration, and lots of love to all our little friends here. Wish all of you a great future. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all the teachers also for coming and getting the children to come. Thank you to everyone. Thank you. And
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye, sir.
Bye, sir.